Hello, very good morning to you. It's just after 9 o'clock now on Saturday, February the 3rd. I'm David Bull. This is Talk Today. Thank you for your company. Great news if you just have woken up, because today is Carrot Cake Day.
Yum.
Yum. Yum. Also, good news for children, this, or particularly for older children as well. It's Ice Cream for Breakfast Day. Also, Elmo from Sesame Street. It's his birthday. He first appeared in 1980, but apparently he's still 3.5 years old. Yeah, happy birthday to you, Elmo. Let's move on to today's fascinating facts.
Today's fascinating facts.
Well, I'm joined all morning by Andrew Eborn, barrister extraordinaire, Dr. Renee in her sickbed, sadly.
Renee, for a day, we do wish her well.
We do wish her well.
In Barbados.
Now... or the Maldives. No, she's not. She's actually in bed. Actually, she sounded dreadful when I spoke to her yesterday, and I said, "Physician, heal thyself."
Yes, you had to do that, didn't you?
Yes, we do. Anyway, what were the facts?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? So the King of Denmark, who was also King of England, he was the Liz Truss of his day.
Oh, very
good, because he only survived, what, 40 days, was it? 40 days? Yeah. And I'm thinking about 10:15, so 10:14. I'll go for that one.
Is that how you remembered it?
I do. No, 10:10, 10:14, I remember that sort of stuff. Oh, what I also love is Bluetooth in the days of the one. Wasn't that his dad?
Yes, Harold Bluetooth.
Harold Bluetooth. Connected with an AI, Back to the Futurist. I thought Bluetooth has got to be good.
So you remember that.
Margaret Thatcher, probably known as Margaret Roberts then. This will be the first time that she was put forward as a candidate.
Indeed.
She wasn't successful.
In 1949.
There you go, and until that sort of stuff. But what I love, 1963, the learner driver, where basically the instructor rushed out because he thought this is suicide, and he rang on.
I just love that. He basically bailed out of the car, shouting, "This is suicide."
I have to say,
because she was such a bad driver.
It has to be one of the worst jobs in the world, doesn't it? I mean, I've taught a few people. I've been helped with that sort of. It's terrifying, isn't it? If you have, and this is when they have dual controls, they're okay. If you don't, it's so scary.
Well, when I was learning to drive, my mum just assumed this position of grabbing the front of the car. It was very funny, very amusing. As I said, it was a very long time ago. Well done. Those were today's fascinating facts. So some very, very strong opinions indeed this morning. Now, we're talking about this heinous crime. If the criminal has been found guilty and confesses to the crime, why not give them the option of life in prison or ending their life? It's an interesting thought. I know you're against it.
No, but I like to hear arguments. And what I love about this thing is you have an educated discussion. As we talked to your wonderful head-to-head panel beforehand, have the evidence, because recollections may vary, and the facts that he was quoting beforehand were different to the facts we know. I'm always interested to hear the views. My concern is if there's a miscarriage of justice. And
no, we understand that, but here, so good morning, David and Andrew. Says Sean in Gloucester. I like Andrew.
Oh, thank you, thank you. You're the one.
But
oh God. Always a
I disagree that people want the most vile criminals to be reformed if they could be. They give up their rights when they committed these heinous crimes. We do not want them back in society. Vicious and uncontrollable animals are put to sleep, and I cannot see the difference. Many other people also share that view, saying that actually they forfeited all their rights.
And to add to that, you can make it even worse, and a stronger argument on the other side, like play devil's advocate.
Yes,
you could say, actually, we're paying for them to be in prison for all this time, and you look at how much it costs for all these abhorrent murderers to be put on that sort of basis. So I do get the arguments on both sides. People will turn round and say, well, the elements, those are the three elements at the moment. It's about prevention, it's about punishment, but it's also about reform. If we change that, I understand.
Also, Azadi, that case as well, this man who's still wanted, lost in on Wednesday. This is Angus. Good morning to you up north, as he says.
Morning, Angus.
The Azadi case highlights why we need to leave the ECHR, which is allowing lawyers to run this country. If we do not wake up to the clear threat to British citizens, he says, not my words, from Islamic terrorism, who we cannot stop coming in, cannot get rid of them. When they're in, then we are doomed. I do not need to know anything about the situation going on in Paris to make an educated guess. Well, that is speculation.
Well, also, no, I mean, with respect to Angus, and well done for voicing an opinion, I think it's great to hear those opinions. What we've actually discovered is actually been an abuse of the process. So it's not all asylum seekers. This has been an abuse.
But to be fair to Angus, the government has said, right, these what was it, 30,000 people are eligible to be deported. We can't deport them because we have no returns agreement whatsoever. They've managed to lose people. I don't know how you lose thousands of people.
So that's why the system's not working.
Right. But also, we have decided, the bill went through the House of Commons and the House of Lords. We have decided, now we're being told, now we're going to have another bill to tell us that Rwanda is safe.
It's crazy. And actually, it's just it's the old Abraham Lincoln joke, you know, if you count the tail of a dog as a leg, how many legs does a dog have?
4.
It's still 4 because whatever you call the tail, it's still a tail. So that just because you suddenly said Rwanda's safe doesn't necessarily make it safe. There are all sorts of issues, but we do need to improve the system. I think we all agree on that.
I think we do all agree on that. It's a very significant day.
It is a very significant day. I mean, we used to do the live streaming for Northern Ireland Assembly, my company Octopus TV, but I think the point that you make, and it goes back to communication and clarity, because people are thinking there's different things there, and I'm not entirely clear. When you say you can substantially do our list of 7, or there are a list of 7...
And I did push him on that.
I know, but his answer was, well, substantially in progress is progress. It is brilliant with it's all happening and they're going to be talking again, but I'm not quite sure we've got the clarity which has given rise to this confusion.
No, and I think also, you know, at the end of the day, Northern Ireland was suffering from a lack of infrastructure. Obviously, the Assembly hasn't been sitting, so they haven't had the funds, and of course this unlocks funds from the UK government. Interesting, though, that obviously Sinn Féin's the first minister will be from a republic, from Sinn Féin, and that is extraordinary in many ways. Now, the deputy first minister, and I think people don't really understand this, has the same powers and the responsibilities, equal in status. But it is historically very significant.
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the history of Ireland, I mean, it's tragic in many countries when you look at that sort of side. But I say with all these stories, it is unpacking it and it's trying to drill down. And I still don't think we've got the clarity that we need to turn and say, look, what is different now about this red lane, green lane, whatever we call it, UK internal market system? Some goods are there. Apart from criminality, smuggling and disease risks, you've got that sort of stuff. What people need to understand, and then they can have their own views, unpack the story, say this is what we've got so far, this is what we need to negotiate, this is what it means in practice.
I mean, look, I think at the end of the day the EU has played a very good game, and there are other countries that sit in Europe where there are borders where there isn't an issue, but at the same time obviously there are huge implications for the island of Ireland because of its history.
And so we go back to the points we made beforehand. The EU want to scare people that they don't do their own equivalent of a Brexit. So what you have to do is make it so painful and so difficult that you would see what happened to our people over there.
Well, let's see. Italexit, Brexit. Who knows what's next? Andrew, thank you very much indeed. Time for a break. After the break, everyone's favourite showbiz journalist is here. Steve Denyer will be here with Denyer's Delights. This is Talk TV. Many messages coming in about Northern Ireland, actually. Compromising freedom is not true freedom. Westminster applied massive pressure on the DUP, and those strikes did not help in an election year. What a fuddle. That's an interesting point of view from Nicholas. Regarding the EU, we left the EU, but now we need to ask them first before painting our house. And that's a really good point, actually. Thank you very much indeed for that. Lots of others coming in as well. Penny in Essex, good morning to you. Good morning, David. Brilliant show as usual. Thank you very much indeed. Re the horrendous Brianna murder. There might be some hope for the boy, led by Scarlett, but not for her. She enjoys killing and had a list of names to continue. She was still saying she wants to kill when sentenced. It's her mindset. So rehabilitation will never happen. It's really difficult, this, isn't it? And obviously very strong views here, Andrew.
And quite rightly
on the
so.
Sentence.
Quite rightly, there should be strong views, and it's abhorrent, and people need to vent their anger. And we need to look at this and work out all sorts of factors. People are not born evil, in spite of some of the headlines. What happens is no, I don't think anybody's born evil. I don't think people are born good or evil. I think there's a lot of nature and nurture within all of that. And I think that the access, we hear about the dark web and the access that she had to that sort of side, and how you're looking for something that might be inspired, in the horrible use of the word, but you work on that sort of premise. There are other factors that we need to look at from society, because she's not going to be the only one. And if we don't learn the lessons, it's going to happen again.
Yes, and also you're right in that if you're seeing dangerous material in impressionable young minds, of course that then begs the question of this dark web, how you access it. And, you know, we were talking about that this morning without going into details of how you do that. But again, something needs to be done here, because there is all this information out there that plays on impressionable minds, and you see it. You see the way that people change, even with video games. And the desensitisation.
And it's all about desensitisation. And now we have horrible images every day, real situations with the war around the world and so on and so forth. Computer games have got all sorts of issues and things like that, and there's that big debate. But the stuff on the dark web is just horrendous. And if people are copying that sort of side, it is awful. And that's what needs to be addressed. We need to look at that sort of side to make sure that actually there is good in everybody. I do believe that, and we should try and find that good.
Andrew, well said, ever the optimist. Let's move on. Time for Denya's Delights.
Denya's Delights.
I expect you to come in high kicking tonight.
Jazz Hansela, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Lovely
You're
to see you.
looking very tan.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a good start to the new year. I'm kind of back to the gym.
How is Jim?
A couple of Jim, fine.
Good.
Have you actually done exercise, or you just
a
walked
little
it?
bit?
Yeah, you
I find a couple of laps and then 35 minutes in the steam room. It balances out.
Perfect.
So
I haven't been actually for a whole week. I've got to go today. I've got to force myself.
Today the day.
Your social media pictures got all you pumped up
I'm
and
always
whatever.
in the gym.
Do you repeat those images then? Are they all images?
I just changed the outfit and repost them. Right, let's start with some really... I was really shocked when I read this morning, actually, about Johnny Irwin.
Yeah.
He was a presenter for Escape to the Country and a Place in the Sun, and very sadly died at the young age of 50.
Yeah, with all the terrible news yesterday, I was listening, watching talk all day, and then this happened. I thought, oh no. Really tragic. He's been on our TVs for 20 years. And just looking at some of the tributes this morning, they're just so difficult to read. His widow, Jessica, said that, described him as everything, and how his brain has finally gone to sleep. He was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, and then a couple of years later, I think it was pretty much 2 years ago.
I think they gave him 6 months to live, and he outlasted that, obviously.
Yeah, and we've all been kind of gunning for him and hoping that this story would have a better outcome, but it hasn't. So we've got tributes, from, his widow, the 3 sons he leaves behind, the people he worked with. Everyone said he's a really great character. He was fun, he was naughty, he had a great sense of humour. He made everyone feel at ease, who he met. So I just thought it's important to pay tribute to him. There will be tribute programmes, in the next kind of week on TV.
And it is tragic when we lose people so young, doesn't it? It just makes you remember the sanctity and validity of life, and celebrate every moment.
50 is no age.
It's no age at all. I lost a friend this week in a similar sort of age.
I'm sorry.
I know it wasn't your fault, but you work on that sort of principle. You should absolutely build those bridges. Talk to somebody today. Tell them that you love them, because that's
absolutely.
important.
So that's really interesting. And I've had this conversation recently about, we're all so driven, and you work, and then, you stop working. We were talking about this. You stop working, you drop dead.
Yeah.
And then you have to work out what your life balance is here, and what you do, and it goes back to a much bigger issue. I didn't know Johnny. I worked for the company that he worked for back in the day, and those companies are also very close-knit communities, so I imagine they're feeling that very strongly.
Very, very much so. As I say, you kind of, when we all found out this news a couple of years ago, you thought, okay, well, it seemed for a while he was getting better, and now this happens. And I suppose in the end, he's done some good. He's been honest about it.
Yes.
People are very, very, mindful of checking themselves, getting checked out, but also tell the people you love that you love them.
Yeah,
Make every single
day.
second count.
And applaud those in the public eye who talk about their illness. I mean, King Charles was very weak, talking about prostate, that the calls of people with prostate just went through the roof in terms of that sort of stuff.
Very much top of mind, isn't it? Very much top of mind, it seems to be, which is great news.
And actually, and it goes back to something else we talked about in the week, I want to see much more partnership between people and their GPs. So it can't be just reactive. It needs to be proactive, and that's your point about going to get checked. Let's move on to talking about a great celebrity who I can't quite believe is the age she is.
Madonna,
Yeah.
63.
Yes.
65.
The headline of this is 64 hits at 65.
Look at that, that's
So
not bad.
I've done my research, Andrew.
Hey.
So the thing is, she's now had more top 10 hits than the Beatles.
She has, hasn't she?
Than Spice Girls. It's quite like than Oasis.
Yes.
She's back in the charts with this song with The Weeknd. And this song's been knocking around for ages. It's kind of gathered momentum since she's been on the world tour. But she's back in our top 10.
And she's brilliant.
And she was on stage last night in Chicago. And
Was she late?
She was late, yeah. She did sing This Used to Be My Playground, which is a song that she's never sung
that's
ever.
right.
Wasn't even in the set list. So she's very much, she's still there. And she's still doing, there's a great little quote.
How many times
in the
have you
show.
seen her now?
5.
Right.
And there's a great little quote, and it says, the most controversial thing I've ever done is to just stick around. And that's what she's done.
What she's brilliant at as well, though, she's brilliant at reinventing herself. So all the time she appeals to every generation as a result of doing that. And that seems to be the secret of longevity.
I think it is. And I think this show, and there are rumours that she might come back and do kind of a part 2 of this show. This show is the last time you'll ever see her like this, you know, a massive show, the greatest hits, all the costumes, the dances.
Is it really?
It's the singing.
Is it the last time?
I think it's the last concert that you will see, because she hasn't done a greatest hits concert in 40 years. I don't think she particularly enjoys doing it. I think it's Live Nation saying, come on, we want some money now. We gave you your little theatre show a couple of years ago.
That's the problem, isn't it? A lot of artists being forced, whether it's the Alimony tour or whatever, not in her case. But you work on that principle. And you think that life on the road is tough.
Yes, yeah.
And people forget that.
And also she's 65. I mean, to tour at 65
and
is
the
no
other
mean
thing
feat.
is, we don't have many artists with that legacy around like that. We've lost them all. You know, I was chatting to Christopher Biggins in the week because he came in for my show. He's great. He's great. Good. You know, he's doing really well. But he says, Steve, you've got to think, you know, Tina Turner, Whitney Houston, George Michael, Michael Jackson, they've all gone. And she does pay tribute to Michael Jackson in the show. But you look at all the legacy artists that, you know, I mean, it's 40 years since they've been around, so we don't have many of them. To celebrate somebody who's still doing it, is back in the top 10, and
she's still outrageous.
She's still outrageous, still commanding those column inches.
Good for her.
Absolutely. I told you I went to see her years and years ago. It was the most extraordinary.
Well, we both went to see that Blonde Ambition tour, which
we did.
Changed a lot of people's lives. Lots of people say, you know, that was the moment that I realised, you know, that I love kind of an artist, and almost like a religion, like a cult. When you love someone,
what a performer! What a performer! Now, talking of performers, theatre, the new Wimbledon Theatre tonight, a new musical.
A new musical. I've got a trailer for you.
Have you?
Should we have a look at it?
Yes. Oh, it's not ready.
Oh.
We'll find it.
Shall I sing I Should Be So Lucky?
What do you do? Go on, go for it.
Just hands out.
So, I Should Be So Lucky. So, is this Kylie Minogue by any chance?
So, this is a Stock Aitken and Waterman musical.
Yes.
I mean, these guys, again, if you're talking about legacy, I mean, I've got the stats here.
Yes.
They've had more than 100 UK top 40 hits. Sold over 150 million records, estimated 60 million. Pete Waterman can't move around without, you know, banging into one of his Porsches or his Ferraris.
Or train sets.
Or a train
He loves his train sets.
I mean, incredible. So what they've done is they've packed in, I think, 42 of the hits into 2.5 hours. It's a musical. It's a storyline about a couple that fall in love. However, the groom has got this huge curveball, and they kind of weave in all the Stock Aitken and Waterman songs.
Have you seen it?
Into the plot. I'm going tonight. So
where's my invite?
Yeah.
You're up
I know,
in the morning.
I would love to go and see that. And also, again, that music is sort of intertwined in our lives. In our lives.
Those songs have sounded.
I bet it. So is the idea that it's premiering, and then the idea is to take it into the West End? Is it?
So it premiered in Manchester.
Oh right.
And now it's going on a tour around the country. So they're starting with that, which is interesting, isn't it? Because usually it starts in London, and then goes.
Well, so when you go back to the origins of Joseph, when that was first a much smaller show, they then trialled bits and worked out what worked, and then they changed it up, and obviously it became the massive, phenomenal success it now is.
Yes.
I assume that's what they're doing here, tinkering with it.
They're tinkering with it, but very much like Mrs. Doubtfire, the musical. It started off, they had kind of more rehearsals once it started. They kind of, you know, treated it with, you know, the kind of rehearsal hours and stuff, and built it, changed little bits that weren't working, and now it's on in London. Do you have a favourite Stock Aitken and Waterman song? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
really difficult one.
Wow.
Because you started with Dead
hang on
or
a minute,
Alive.
we'll Step Back in Time there.
Yes.
Step back in time. Dead or Alive was fantastic.
That was their first number one.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then they had Bananarama. So Bananarama.
Always saying something, Fun Boy
Exactly.
Free.
Then we had Rick Astley.
Showing your age.
Then the next thing was Kylie, was Jason, was kind of Sonia, Lonnie Gordon. Then they did the Sybil hits.
Yes.
I've got my whole shelf is full of records.
I love it. Nostalgia ain't what it used to be. What I love, though, is the music is the star in this, isn't it? And that clearly is the issue. And I'm so looking forward to seeing it. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, on that note, shall we have a quick look at what's in store for Steve Denyer tonight?
Got to know Sylvester Stallone quite well, Schwarzenegger, all of those figures. Stallone, I once flew to stop.
I'm sorry, I can't do this. I'm sorry.
The wedding's off, but the honeymoon is on, people.
So I love, you know, as much as I like
seeing
Kevin,
the Kevin O'Sullivan remix.
I think that looks fantastic.
Doesn't it? Listen, even if it's terrible, it doesn't matter because he's got all those great
You're going to be up dancing, aren't you? Every one of those. I love it.
Well, please feed back, and then hopefully I can go and see it.
It's getting great reviews.
Well, if I'm ever allowed out of this building, then that would be great. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Also, we've got gigs. Jocelyn Brown.
Jocelyn Brown tonight. Somebody else's guy. I've seen Jocelyn before.
She's wonderful voice still.
Incredible voice. There's so many other songs that she has. She's used that have been sampled in the past. She's playing the Jazz Cafe, which is the perfect live music venue in London. And also, I just want to mention Miles Kane, a beautiful singer. We occasionally play him on Virgin Radio. If you go and say, if you want to see someone who steps out on stage and they look like they're not even trying, utterly brilliant, mesmerising. About 2-hour show. Him doing some hits, some great covers. That's at the O2 Ritz in Manchester.
Okay.
A couple of bits on TV tonight for you.
Very good.
It's One Hit Wonders night on BBC Two at 10 minutes past.
Who's your favourite One Hit Wonder?
Interesting you should ask me, Andrew Eborn. I think I'm going to go for... I think I'm going to go for Owen Paul, my favourite waste of time from the 80s.
He's great. But he's had other hits as well.
No. That was his only one hit. And he sang it on Pebble Mill, but didn't realise that it was live on television.
That was my favourite
So the song's playing out, and he's just stood there, if you're watching on TV, with his arms crossed, not performing his song. It's one of the best kind of faux pas. You can see it on,
and he gets repeat fees every time I spoke to him about it. And he loves it. They keep using it on when television goes wrong.
So was he singing, though, with his arms?
No. So he thought they were still practising, but actually this was the big moment where he was supposed to, obviously lip-syncing.
Yes.
So the song's playing out, and he's just like, having a fag.
Well, what he told me, he couldn't hear it.
Right.
And because he couldn't hear it, he was just there, and they were playing it out.
But he said he could see the red light at the camera, and he thought, that's strange.
I never liked that song.
You didn't like it? How about Nana? 99 Red Balloons.
No, we love that.
99 Luftballon was the original. 99.
99. Absolutely. It sounds so much better. She was German.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes,
I love
that's
it.
another good one.
And Dead or Alive, and that sort of thing as well. Doctor and the Medics.
Spirit in the Sky.
They did Spirit in the Sky, but they had a half hit as well. He always said he's not one hit wonder, but he had the other one. Joe Dolce. Do you remember What's Your Matter You?
Yes, of course. They're all going to be in here a whole evening.
So, Phil, the producer, says, Boy Meet... What was that? Yes, Waiting for a Starter for Boy Meets Girl.
They were songwriters, so they only actually released the one song, but they wrote hits for Whitney Houston, for Madonna, for Tina Turner.
This is very much your bag, isn't it?
It is, it's totally bag.
Why is it your bag?
Well, we do lots with those sort of artists, the retro artists, and we put them all over the place. A lot of them are talking about, and we've done some holograms with them as well.
Oh, amazing.
So you can create the fantastic night of hits that you can always see.
Sorry, I'm just reading ahead about what I'm going to do. I think we should go to a break, actually. TV, and then we'll come back. Well, I'll tell you why in a minute. This is Talk TV. Welcome back to Talk Today, final part, Saturday, February the 3rd. I've got the giggles now. My hearing went, said Nicholas. I assume Steve Denyer said go and see the show because Madonna has great hits. Very good.
Love that.
Wonderful ones, absolutely.
Lots and lots of other ones. I like Steve, but is there a show he doesn't like? He's so easily pleased. Lots of others as well. David, great show as always. Thank you very much indeed. What a treat having the wonderful Andrew Eborn all morning. Sensible and relevant, and it's my favourite programme of the week. That's incredibly kind. Thank you very much indeed.
Who was that
Louise.
from?
Louise.
Hello, Louise.
Yes.
Wasn't from Renee.
Oh, no.
Stop it. Good morning, Dr. David says, Nick, how do you keep so positive? Every weekend for 3 hours you talk about doom and gloom issues, knowing full well this country is dead and finished with no way back. What's your secret? Look, you've got to look on the, to quote Monty Python, look on the bright side.
You have to look on the bright side. I mean, life is miserable. We just, I talk about it. People we lose today. Let's look for the good stuff. And all sorts of social media. There's all sorts of horrible stuff.
I know.
You attract both extremes.
Exactly.
Really
so let's look at some good stuff. So,
yes.
Is this good stuff?
Well, I mean, this is interesting. You know, there's certain days that are etched into our memories. Certain days where everything changed. Certain days that when a certain event pops up, you say, I was here when this happened. Well, tonight on Channel 5, 7:40, the day the Queen died. We all remember that day. I mean, just a couple of years ago, but we remember what happened. You know, in the House of Parliament. You know, when the note was being kind of spread around. We always remember how the news was broken. We remember the fact that we saw the Queen with Liz Truss just a couple of days before she passed. So this story, minute by minute, of how the nation we remember the queue and everything that happened after that, you know, between the Queen passing and the funeral. So they look at it, they look at the news coverage, and it does kind of give you goosebumps to think that she isn't there anymore. Because we still see on our notes, on our money.
And still, when you talk about the Queen, I still think of Queen Elizabeth. And even in this glorious, in Talk TV Towers, I'd let you into a secret. When you come in the door, there's still a picture of Queen Elizabeth on the thing.
Yes,
and it does, it gets you every time.
Yeah.
And I think it's extraordinary when you look at that sort of stuff and how indelibly she is in our memories and those great,
and I think we
moments.
always thought that she would be around forever.
She was always for our whole lives.
Because she's been around.
I totally agree. Okay, good. And then we sort of saw this earlier, but tell us about your guest on your show.
Yes, so this is without Stockhagen and Waterman as a background. This is Kevin O'Sullivan from this parish. He joins me next week on Virgin Radio 80s Plus every afternoon. You've been a previous guest.
I have.
So the idea is Kev will pick his favourite songs from the 80s. Kev was working in America. He was the big showbiz guy for The Sun. He's met all the celebrities. He's got great stories about them. And here's just the clip.
Got to know Sylvester Stallone quite well, Schwarzenegger, all of those figures. Stallone, I once flew to Stockholm when he was making the Rocky movies, you know, the big screen hard man. It was about like 40 degrees. It was like the hottest day they'd ever had.
Wow.
It was extraordinary. Anyway, at the end of the interview, he's a great interviewee, so was Schwarzenegger. They knew how to sell a movie. No snobbery. So many movies like, I won't talk to the Sun. Why not? We've got 4 million viewers, readers.
Yes.
You know, we've got reach of 20 million. That's what Stallone said. He said, you got the numbers, I do the talking. And anyway, at the end of it, I said to him, you want to do a picture for us? He said, yeah, sure, man. What do you need? I said, got this idea, me beating you at arm wrestling. He goes, yeah, sure. So front page of The Sun was me beating Rocky, stronger than Rocky.
There are so many good stories. There's a story of when he met the Queen. I think it was backstage at the Royal Variety performance, and he got stuck with the Queen for 6 minutes chatting to her, making small talk and what was said. And also George Michael. He said, apparently he said to George Michael in the 80s, why don't you just come out? And George Michael said back to him, well, it will cost me a lot of money if I do.
That's true.
A great little story.
Okay.
And when is this? When can we see
Virgin
this?
Radio 80s Plus.
Lovely.
Monday to Friday or next week at 4:30 p.m. on my show. He's picking his favourite songs, and we do a different song every day at 4:30.
And I love those interviews. The ones that you do are fantastic. fantastic. I saw your Jason Donovan one
Yeah,
day
it was
recently.
so much fun.
Brilliant. You bring out the best in people.
People come in and it's a bit like therapy. I know that we've done it together.
Yes.
And you just get...
Was it therapeutic for you?
Yes and no. I mean, what was great is because Steve has such extensive knowledge so that I could talk about things that were important and those tracks of my years and when I was running my disco back in the day, and then you understood those songs and we could talk around them, and actually we used them to talk about really important things that happened in that decade.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you give someone the space, especially with music. We've all got an emotional connection to different songs and different chapters of our lives.
It is the soundtrack of their lives.
It really is. It's a great privilege to do these, and again, thank you so much for doing it. Our one is up on YouTube. So if you type in Dr. David Ball, Steve Daney of Virgin Radio, you can see a whole hour of us two.
Now, just before we finish, I have to just show you this clip. I've been teasing it all morning, but I saw it yesterday. So essentially, my understanding of this clip is that basically this woman, I think, locked herself out of the house and decided that the only way through it was in through a window, which happened to be ajar. Let's have a look at what happened.
Well, I've got to do it, haven't I? Doing a hot
So here's the lady, she's attempting to go through the window. Now, she's obviously decided that the only way to do this is head first over the window.
It gets better.
So here she is, right, here we go. And she's wearing a lovely dress, and her friend's helping her out there. Maxi dress. Anyway, a one-piece dress, her friend helping her there, and it's being filmed by another friend in a car. And now, the bit you can't see is she's now upside down, showing her bosom. Rather marvellous, and pressed up against the window. I mean, that has got...
It's brilliant, isn't it?
That has gone viral.
Yeah, we live for moments like this.
We love it. We love it. There she is. Fantastic.
And the friend convulsed, literally convulsed. Yeah. No idea what to do, but absolutely brilliant. I saw it, and then I was shown it doing the breakfast show yesterday. I couldn't stop laughing.
Isn't it what we need to see after a week of news like this? Just to see a moment like that, you know.
But my sister's okay now, so it's good.
Steve, thank you so much.
Thank
really
you. Lovely
good
to see you guys.
That was today's 10 Years Delights.
10 Years Delights.
Right, compose yourself, compose yourself. Sally is on the line. She's in Weston-super-Mare. I've been asking this morning, given these horrific atrocities that we're seeing this week, it's been a really sobering week, actually. I've been asking this morning what you made of that sentence passed down yesterday, 22 years and 20 years as well. This is the killing of Brianna. Sally is in Weston-super-Mare. Good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are, I think it is time to bring back the death penalty, because not only today, these two young people, that young girl lost her life, so many have lost their lives, and there doesn't seem to be any deterrent. You know, I mean, you just got a slap on the hand. I mean, 22 years. I don't think the girl should ever be let out.
Sure.
To be honest.
I mean, she was 15 at the time. 22 years is a very long time to sit looking at four walls.
Well, that's the price you have to pay for killing somebody. I mean, everyone talks about human rights. Well, it was Brianna's human right to live.
I agree with that.
Not to die in that brutal way. And, you know, there is no deterrent, really. What do they do in prison? You know, they come out very often and repeat.
That is certainly true. Recidivism, as it's called. Andrew has a problem with this. But do you not sense that there is a mood change here, that people like Sally are saying enough is now enough?
Oh, no, I absolutely get the outrage, and everybody's instant reaction is you want revenge, and I get that. I get the eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I'm not sure that it might have acted as a deterrent in this case, because she was already influenced by the dark web and so on and so forth. As I say, it goes back to what the justice system is at the moment. It's those three elements. It's about the punishment, it's about the prevention, so it's a deterrent, but it's also about trying to reacclimatise people. If you want to get rid of reacclimatising people, because that is no longer cost-effective, then that's the issue. But I'm open to talk about the issues. I have a problem with it for all sorts of reasons, not least because on the inside of the profession, I see sometimes it's your best mouthpiece who will get you off, but also could get you convicted. And that's very, very dangerous.
Stanley, did you watch that sentence being handed down because the judge was so moved to tears whilst delivering that verdict?
No, I think for a change, the judge had common sense, and that's what we haven't got in this country anymore. We ought to have a minister for common sense, because
I think we do, Esther McVey.
Esther McVey, my good friend, she's Minister for Common Sense.
I think Esther is meant to be there, whatever that title means. But just your thoughts really on where we're going as a society. It seems to me that it's increasingly lawless. We're seeing these unprovoked attacks. We saw the alkaline attack as well,
that was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. What's the matter with these people? I mean, it wasn't like this sort of 20 years ago. It's deteriorated, you know?
And why is that? Is it because we're more aware of it?
I don't know whether it's because there's so much social media now, whether it's all the mobile phones that are putting pulses into the air that's causing people to have weird...
Or is it just that we're far more aware because we're more likely to capture those images because we have so many cameras? I think it's a really tricky problem.
That has yeah, definitely. I mean, we never heard so much of problems abroad until...
That is also true. And that's the advent of the 24-hour news cycle. Thank you so much for your call, Sally. Sharon is in Staffordshire. Good morning to you.
Morning, Sharon.
Good morning, David.
Morning.
I love your show, David. I think you're amazing.
Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you very much indeed.
And I do miss Renee, and good morning, Andrew, as well.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, hopefully Renee will be back when she's peeled herself off her deathbed.
I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will. Now, David, I really do think that we need a deterrent, for definite. We need to bring back the death penalty. That's a definite must. Now, if you look in the UAE countries, because I go to Dubai a lot, the crime rate is nearly zero, because they know that if they commit a crime, they'll have to face the consequences. There's nothing here. There's no deterrent. There is nothing. And they do get a slap on the wrist. That's why they keep going on and killing each other. We do need a deterrent, and we do need to bring back the death penalty, because they'll think twice when they decide to commit a crime.
Isn't being sent to prison for 22 years a deterrent?
No, I don't think so. No. I think they'll come out. She'll probably come out, and then she'll probably do it again, or something similar.
What about Andrews?
Let me just clarify this. They're eligible for parole when in 22 years' time. If she's still a threat to society, she won't be coming out, and that's what the system needs to work.
Well, and then the issue is, why should we, the state, pay for that board and lodging over 22 years, which will cost an absolute fortune?
I know, but unfortunately we do have to pay, and that is why I think we need to bring back the death penalty, because it will be a deterrent. They'll think twice before they decide to commit such a heinous crime.
It's very strong, powerful words, Sharon. Thank you very much indeed. Julie is in Barnsley. Interestingly, and I can tell you this, we haven't had a single call that says they don't want the death penalty.
No, I understand.
Everyone is saying bring back the death penalty.
And it is interesting, because it's like doing surveys. You're always going to have the extreme, and I tell you what, the anger in society at the moment, and rightly so, they should be furious, but the gut reaction is to talk about revenge, and that's always going to be the case, as opposed to sort of turning around and saying, well, what are the reasons? Will it really be a deterrent?
What justice does that give to Brianna's family? No.
Well, maybe ask them. Yeah. And you tell them that. So, I don't think they were saying. Actually, they're not. And they've been very generous in terms of saying, we understand the damage it's going to cause to the people's families as well.
Let's just talk to Julie. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Good morning. What are your thoughts this morning?
I think that now it costs us £50,143 a year to keep somebody in a cell.
That's right.
In that cell, they get free medical care, free dental care. They can sit a degree. They can do whatever they want in there. They're not on the outside thinking about bills and rent like everybody else. Yep. It's an holiday for them, and at the end of the day, when you took somebody else's life, you should have to pay for that life, and they're not. They're going in prison, and in fact, prisoners actually run the prisons inside nowadays. So at the end of the day, it's just an easy way of life for them. So at the end of the day, they should be put to death and save the country some money, because if you're in for 30 years at £50,000 a year per person for one cell, let's save country some money. When the elderly get old, they don't think twice at giving them palliative care.
Well, no, well that isn't quite true. And of course we have the bill also coming through about assisted dying. You make a very strong point though, Julie. Thank you very much indeed. Well, the world limbo champion joins us this morning. You missed.
Did I miss?
Yeah, you missed.
Brilliant, excellent. Yes, well done me.
Well done you. 60 seconds. How's your show?
My show's looking well. The death penalty should never come back. By the way, it doesn't actually deter people. Small matter of
why.
Because people who live and die with swords and knives and guns and so on are going to die less pleasant deaths than the ones we would give them. And people who murder generally do out of passion.
Our audience will pick you up on that.
That's fine. I'm very happy to chat on 03444.
Going. Yeah, it's good.
Small matter of perhaps World War III. We're talking to Henry Bolton, who's outside, about the Bibi Stockholm and possible health risks. And
well, here we go again. Apparently, yes. Don't tell me it's human rights.
It's human rights, of course it is. And the Clapham attacker, and I mean, why he was in this country, absolutely no idea.